The afternoon air bit with a chilling ferocity, each snowflake a tiny, icy blade. Winter was a merciless tyrant, indifferent to the plight of its subjects. Logan Pierce's triumphant laughter ripped through the desolate parking lot as he taunted Lily Moore, the car keys dancing just out of her reach. "What's wrong, princess? Can't catch." His breath puffed out in white clouds, mingling with the swirling snow. His pack of friends, eager spectators, circled them like hungry wolves. "Logan, please. The storm's getting worse." Lily Moore's voice trembled, not from fear of him, but from the insidious cold that was already leaching through her flimsy cheerleading uniform. "Should have thought about that before you turned me down for homecoming." With a cruel flick of his wrist, Logan sent the keys spiraling into a snowdrift a good 20 yards away. Good luck finding those. He and his cronies piled into his father's BMW, tires churning slush as they roared off, leaving Lily stranded at the school's forgotten back gate. She stood there, a solitary figure against the white expanse, arms wrapped tightly around herself, mascara tracing black frozen rivulets down her cheeks. A shadow detached itself from the blizzard. "You okay?" Lily Moore looked up, her eyes struggling to focus through the stinging snow. It was Evan Brooks, the quiet, almost spectral presence from her English class, the one everyone seemed to collectively ignore. He was painfully thin, swallowed by a worn jacket that had clearly seen better days. "I'm fine," she lied, her teeth chattering uncontrollably. "Just waiting for—" "You're turning blue." Without a moment's hesitation, Lucas reached for the zipper of his jacket. "What are you doing?" He pulled off the only coat he owned, a tangible piece of his past, the last gift his mother had given him before cancer had claimed her. He draped it over Lily Moore's shivering shoulders. The fabric still held the faint warmth of his body. "No, I can't. You'll freeze." Lily Moore tried to push it back, but Lucas was already stepping away, his thin T-shirt instantly soaked through with the biting snow. "I live close by. You don't." The lie slipped out easily. He didn't tell her about the abandoned auto shop 5 miles away, his refuge, his secret. Didn't mention that this jacket was the only barrier between him and the unforgiving cold, between a possible survival and a chilling certainty. "Wait. At least tell me your name," Lily Moore called after him, her voice swallowed by the wind. But Lucas had already vanished into the swirling white, a ghost fading into his own life, walking towards what he unknowingly accepted as his final steps. Evan Brooks had mastered the art of existing without being seen. He occupied the back corner of every classroom, a shadow in the periphery, never raising his hand, never meeting anyone's gaze. At Riverside High, invisibility was a shield, a survival tactic. The rich kids didn't bother with what they couldn't acknowledge, and Lucas had become adept at blending into the monotonous beige of the walls and the scarred surfaces of the desks. "Yo, Sparrow." The nickname, cruel in its precision, a jab at his small stature and perceived expendability, came from Derek Chun, Logan's ever-present right-hand man. "Still wearing that homeless shelter special, huh?" Lucas kept his eyes fixed on his notebook, pretending to be engrossed in notes on the Great Gatsby. But in reality, he was desperately calculating if he could stretch his meager earnings enough to cover both the electric bill at the shop and food for the week. The numbers weren't adding up. "I'm talking to you, street rat." A crumpled ball of paper struck the back of Lucas's head. He didn't flinch, didn't react. Reacting was engagement, and engagement inevitably led to attention, and attention led to problems. He'd learned that lesson the hard way during his first week at Riverside, when he'd made the mistake of defending himself. Logan had made it his personal mission to ensure everyone knew Lucas's place in the school's intricate social hierarchy, a rung somewhere below the lunch ladies, but definitely above the actual rats in the biology lab. Miss Eleanor Grant droned on about symbolism, her voice a monotonous hum, while Lucas's stomach growled in protest. The free lunch program was a lifeline, literally. 2 meals a day at school meant he could stretch his dishwashing wages a little further, maybe even save enough to repair the broken heater at the shop before winter truly descended. The jacket, his mother's final gift, bought 3 sizes too big with the hopeful promise that he'd grow into it, hung on the back of his chair, patched at both elbows with mismatched scraps of fabric, the zipper stubbornly stuck halfway, but it was warm. It was a memory. It was home. The dismissal bell shattered the silence. Lucas was always the first one out, navigating the crowded hallways like water flowing around stones, deliberately avoiding contact with anyone. He had 4 hours before his shift at Big Grant Holloway's diner started, 4 precious hours to maybe snatch some sleep in the shop's cramped office, where the broken couch was at least a marginal improvement over the unforgiving concrete floor. Lucas Reed. He froze. Adults who knew his name usually meant social workers, meant intrusive questions, meant the system trying to help in ways that invariably made things worse. But it was just Mr. Paul Whitman, the guidance counselor, holding a crumpled slip of paper. "Your boss called," says the pipes burst at the diner. "No work tonight." The news hit him harder than any of Logan's punches. No work meant no money. No money meant no food tomorrow. "Thanks." Lucas snatched the note, crumpled it in his fist and continued walking. The parking lot was already emptying, expensive cars peeling away with expensive haste. The morning weather report had warned of the approaching storm, a nor'easter barreling down from Canada, expected to dump 2 feet of snow and plunge temperatures to below 0. Lucas pulled his jacket tighter, making sure the stubborn zipper still functioned. The coat was more than just fabric and stuffing. It was his mother's voice whispering, "I love you." It was her hands, already frail and thin, patiently threading the needle to mend the elbow he'd torn while climbing the fence at their old apartment during her last good week. It was every sacrifice she'd made, working double shifts so he could have new school supplies, right up until the day she physically couldn't work anymore. He began the long walk home. If you could call an abandoned auto shop home, the snow had already begun. Light flurries danced in the air, catching in his dark hair and melting against his skin. Unbeknownst to him, Lily Moore watched him from the school's front steps, waiting for her father's club to arrive. She couldn't help but notice the solitary boy who sat alone at lunch, who never spoke unless spoken to, who wore the same 3 shirts in a seemingly endless rotation. He was already lost in thought, his mind consumed by the long walk ahead, by whether the threadbare sleeping bag would be enough without the space heater, by how many crackers he had left in his backpack. The snow was falling harder now. Lily Moore had been living a carefully constructed lie for 2 years. She'd begged her father to let her attend a normal school, to experience a regular teenage life, to escape the suffocating label of the biker princess who arrived with a motorcycle escort. Silas Crow, president of the Iron Reapers MC, a man feared across 3 states, whose word was law among outlaws, had one vulnerability: his daughter. So he'd reluctantly agreed. Private school education, yes, but also a normal social life. No patches, no clubhouse visits, no leather, just Lily Moore, the regular girl, captain of the JV cheer squad. She'd been meticulous, guarding her secret fiercely, never mentioned her last name, never allowed anyone to witness her getting picked up. The club usually sent a prospect in an inconspicuous car to collect her from the gas station 2 blocks away, but today the prospect was running late, and Logan Pierce, captain of the football team and possessor of Daddy's 3rd BMW, had offered her a ride. She should have refused. "So, homecoming's in 2 weeks, Logan said, one hand casually gripping the steering wheel, the other creeping slowly toward her knee. They were supposed to be heading toward her aunt's house, the designated safe location where the prospect would meet her. "I'm not really into school dances," Lily Moore said, subtly shifting away from his wandering hand. "Come on, we'd be like royalty. Football captain and cheer captain, that's power couple material. I said, "No, Logan." His jaw tightened visibly. The BMW slowed. They weren't heading toward her designated pickup spot anymore. Lily Moore's internal alarms blared, the ones her father had meticulously installed through years of training her to recognize danger, to trust her instincts, to never allow herself to be cornered. "Where are you going?" "This isn't." "Relax. Just wanted to talk somewhere private." Logan steered the BMW into the school's back parking lot, the one reserved for overflow during football games. Empty now, isolated. Lily Moore's phone was in her hand before the car even came to a complete stop. Logan noticed. "Who you calling?" "Daddy." He laughed, a dismissive, mocking sound. "What's he going to do? He's probably some accountant, right? Going to calculate me to death?" "If only you knew," Lily Moore thought, but kept her mouth shut. One text to her father and 50 bikers would descend on this parking lot like the wrath of God. But she didn't want that, didn't want to be rescued, like some helpless damsel, didn't want to blow her carefully constructed cover, didn't want to be Henry Moore's daughter, instead of just Lily Moore. "I just want to go home, Logan. We're just talking." But his hand was on her phone now, snatching it away. "You embarrassed me in front of the whole cafeteria yesterday. Laughed at me when I asked you out." "I didn't laugh." "Yes, you did. You and your little friend Nora Bennett giggling like I was some kind of joke." The snow was falling with increasing intensity now, fat flakes clinging to the windshield. The temperature was plummeting rapidly. Lily Moore could see her breath fogging the air inside the car. "I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings, but I need to leave now." Logan pocketed her phone, a cruel smile spreading across his face. "You know what? Yeah, you should go." He reached across her and flung open her door. The Arctic wind blasted into the car. "Why don't you walk, Logan?" "Don't be stupid. It's a blizzard. You don't want to be seen with me." "Fine, walk." Lily Moore stared at him in disbelief. This wasn't happening. People didn't actually do this outside of bad movies. "My phone." "Oops." Logan dangled her iPhone out the window, then tossed it into a snowbank. Butterfingers. Then he reached across her again, grabbing her purse, her car keys, everything. Before Lily Moore could fully process what was happening, he'd hurled them all into the snow, scattering them in different directions. "Good luck, princess." He gunned the engine, and Lily Moore had to leap back to avoid the doors slamming into her. The BMW fishtailed away, its red tail lights disappearing into the swirling white. She stood there, a fragile figure in her cheerleading uniform, designed for school spirit, not for survival, watching her breath turn to ice. The parking lot was deserted. The school locked up at 4 p.m. Her phone was buried somewhere in the growing drifts. Her keys were gone. The nearest gas station was 2 miles away, and she was wearing a skirt and a shell top. The cold hit her like a physical blow. Her legs went numb first, bare from mid-thigh down, except for the thin nylon of her tights. Her arms erupted in goosebumps that felt like they might be permanent. Lily Moore had been trained for a multitude of scenarios. Her father had taught her how to spot a tail, how to scan a room for threats, how to throw a punch that would break a nose. But he'd never taught her what to do when you're stranded in a blizzard in a cheerleading uniform because some entitled jerk decided rejection deserved punishment. She desperately tried to locate her phone, digging through the snow with hands that were already losing sensation. Nothing. The wind was picking up, howling through the empty lot like something alive and hungry. Lily Moore had never been particularly religious, but she started praying. Not for rescue. She was Crow's daughter. She didn't expect to be rescued, but for the prospect to realize she was late, for her father to call the school for something, anything, because she could feel the cold seeping into her bones, making her thoughts sluggish and fuzzy. Her lips were going numb. That was bad, right? That meant something bad. Hypothermia, frostbite. The cheerleading coach had touched on this once, but Lily Moore's brain felt like it was wading through honey. Everything was slow and confused. She didn't remember sitting down, but suddenly she was on the ground. Arms wrapped around her knees, shivering so violently that her teeth ached. This was how people died, she realized. Not dramatically, not in a fight or a blaze of glory, just slowly, stupidly, because they trusted the wrong person and wore the wrong clothes. The snow was beautiful though, strangely peaceful. Maybe if she just closed her eyes for a minute. Hey, you okay? Lily Moore looked up through frozen eyelashes. A figure stood over her, silhouetted against the grey sky. For a fleeting second, she thought it was an angel. That would be ironic. Henry Moore's daughter dying and going to heaven, but angels probably didn't wear patched-up jackets and look half-frozen themselves. It was Evan Brooks, the quiet kid from English class, the invisible boy. He'd never looked more real. Lucas had deliberately taken the long route past the school to avoid Logan and his crew. They usually exited through the front entrance, and he'd carefully timed his departures to minimize any contact. But the backlot shortcut would save him 10 minutes. And with the storm intensifying, 10 minutes could make a difference. He almost missed her. Lily Moore was curled up against the chain-link fence, her cheerleading uniform already dusted with snow, her skin an alarming shade of bluish-white. For a moment, Lucas thought it was a mannequin, some morbid prank. No one would actually leave a person out here. Then she moved, a feeble shiver that told him she was still alive, barely. Hey, you okay? Stupid question. She was obviously not okay. Lily Moore's eyes slowly focused on him, as if she was looking at him from a great distance. C, can't F, find my face, phone. Lucas dropped his backpack and crouched beside her. His EMT training, 2 summers volunteering at the community center before his life had imploded, kicked in. Check for consciousness, present but altered. Check for breathing, rapid and shallow. Check for color, cyanotic. This was bad. This was really bad. What happened? Where's your coat? Logan took my keys. Lily Moore's words were slurring. Had to teach me a lesson. White-hot rage surged through Lucas. Logan Pierce had done this, had left her here like garbage because his inflated ego couldn't handle rejection. Lucas filed that information away for later, when his hands weren't trembling from the cold. Can you stand? He helped Lily Moore to her feet, but she could barely support her own weight. The nearest shelter was the old groundskeeper's shed, but it was locked. The school was locked. His own home was 5 miles away. The bus stop, there was a covered bus stop 2 blocks west. Not much, but better than this. Come on, we're going to walk. Okay, keep you moving. He wrapped his arm around Lily Moore's waist, supporting most of her weight. She leaned into him heavily. They made it maybe 10 feet before Lucas realized this wasn't going to work. Lily Moore was shutting down, her body temperature plummeting too rapidly. She needed warmth, now. He looked down at his jacket, his mother's jacket, the only thing standing between him and the storm. The math was simple, really. Lily Moore was smaller, already showing signs of hypothermia. The cold had a head start on her. Lucas was bigger, had more body mass, had endured being poor and hungry and cold enough times that his body knew how to ration warmth. He could make it to the bus stop without the jacket. Maybe. Probably not, but definitely maybe. If the alternative was watching this girl die in a parking lot because some rich kid had thrown a tantrum. Lucas stopped abruptly, shrugging out of his jacket. What are you doing? Lily Moore's eyes widened in alarm. No, I'm fine. I live close by. The lie came easily, a skill he'd perfected through necessity. You need this more than me. The jacket was still warm from his body when he draped it over Lily Moore's shoulders. It swallowed her small frame, the sleeves hanging far past her hands. She instinctively pulled it tight around herself, and Lucas saw a flicker of color return to her lips. He was already cold. The T-shirt he wore underneath, one of the 3 he owned. This one, sporting a faded band logo from a concert he'd never attended, was no match for the wind. It cut through the thin cotton as if the fabric wasn't even there. Lucas. Lily Moore was staring at him, her expression a mixture of a chilling premonition akin to pure horror washed over him. "Your jacket," he urged, his voice tight with anxiety. "You need your jacket." Lily stubbornly shook her head. "I already told you I'm fine." He ignored her protests, gently but firmly steering her toward the dilapidated bus stop. "Stop," he commanded, his own movements accelerating now, partially to force the sluggish blood through his veins, but mostly because if he allowed himself to slow, the tremors threatening to consume him might take over entirely. "What's your dad's number? I'll call him from the payphone." Lily Moore, finally relenting to the urgency in his voice, rattled off the number. Her teeth were still chattering, a frantic percussion against the backdrop of the storm. But the jacket was already working its magic, offering a fragile shield against the biting wind. They reached the bus stop, a pathetic excuse for shelter, a flimsy plastic shell offering minimal protection from the elements. Lucas carefully deposited Lily onto the cracked plastic bench. She immediately curled into a fetal position, the oversized jacket pulled up to her chin, her frame swallowed by its bulk. "Don't fall asleep," Lucas warned, his own voice now betraying the tremors he fought to suppress. "Just stay awake until your dad gets here." The payphone, a relic of a bygone era, one of perhaps 3 still clinging to existence in the entire city, greedily swallowed his quarter. He punched in the number Lily Moore had given him, each digit a struggle with his numb fingers, 1 ring, 2 rings. Then a voice answered, a gravelly rasp that sounded like rocks grinding against gunpowder, the kind of voice that commanded attention, that made you sit up straight, even over the crackling static of a phone line. Hi, this is Evan Brooks. I'm calling about your daughter, Lily Moore." The response was immediate, the shift from gravel to razor wire instantaneous. "What's wrong? Where is she?" In the background, Lucas could hear the unmistakable growl of engines, the synchronized roar of multiple motorcycles springing to life. "She's okay. She's with me at the bus stop on Maple and 4th. She got stuck in the storm, but she's warming up now." The voice on the other end was unmoved, focused. Who did this? Not what happened, but who. It was clear violence was a foregone conclusion. He just needed a target. "I don't know the whole story. She said something about her keys. Put her on." Lucas, with hands clumsy from the cold, reached through the cracked plastic of the phone booth and offered the receiver to Lily Moore, who took it with trembling hands. "Daddy, I'm okay, I promise. Some guys from school were being jerks, but I'm fine now." She listened, her eyes widening as she glanced at Lucas. "He gave me his jacket, Dad. He gave me his only jacket in a blizzard." Lucas couldn't hear Henry Moore's response, but he saw Lily Moore's rigid posture soften, her expression relaxing. "Yeah, Evan Brooks. Dad, no, you don't have to." Okay, love you too." She hung up the phone, handing it back to Lucas. "He's on his way. Said to tell you." She paused, a small, hesitant smile gracing her lips. "He said to tell you that you just made the best decision of your life, even if you don't know it yet." Lucas had no idea what that meant. He was too cold to care. His fingers were ghostly white, his lips numb, and the relentless wind was whipping tears from his eyes. Or maybe those were tears born of the pain, the bone-deep, marrow-chilling cold that had taken root in his very soul. "You should take your jacket back," Lily Moore said softly. "Just until he gets here. You're shaking." "I'm fine." "You're lying. Your lips are turning blue." "Still fine." Lily Moore, despite her protests, began to stand, reaching for the jacket. Lucas stopped her, his voice strained. "If you take that off, your core temperature drops again. Then we both freeze for nothing." He tried to smile, but the muscles in his face refused to cooperate. "I'm tougher than I look." It was, perhaps, the biggest lie he'd ever told. The bus stop, mocking in its inadequacy, displayed the route schedule. Next bus, 6:45 p.m. It was only 4:30 now. Lucas knew with a chilling certainty that he couldn't remain here. He needed to move, needed to get to the shop, needed to find warmth before his body began making executive decisions about shutting down. "Your dad will be here soon. You're safe now." He started to back away, each step a monumental effort. "Wait, where are you going?" "Home." "Like I said, close by, Lucas." Lily Moore stood up, the jacket engulfing her, making her seem even smaller, even more vulnerable. "Thank you. You saved my life." "Just stay warm," Lucas managed, then turned and plunged back into the storm. He made it 3 blocks before his legs began to buckle beneath him. The cold had transcended discomfort, had surpassed pain, and had entered that treacherous realm where everything began to feel deceptively warm. His brain, desperately clinging to reason, recognized the danger, paradoxical undressing, the deadly delusion of hypothermia. But his body was indifferent to his brain's frantic warnings. 4 blocks. His hands were so numb he couldn't feel them anymore. Good. That meant they couldn't hurt. 5 blocks. Was he even walking in the right direction? The street signs were obscured by layers of snow, everything blurred into a monotonous landscape of white and grey. 6 blocks. He couldn't quite recall what he was doing, going home. Where was home? The shop, right. The shop with the broken heater and the couch perpetually imbued with the scent of motor oil and the sleeping bag that was never quite warm enough. 7 blocks. There was a dumpster ahead. That was good. He recognized this dumpster, which meant the shop was nearby. And then Lucas's legs simply gave out. He hit the ground hard, landing in a snowdrift that, unbelievably, felt soft as cotton. Comfortable even. When had snow become so comfortable? He knew he should get up. Important to keep moving. Hypothermia victims who stopped moving died. He'd learned that in his EMT training. But he was so tired, and the snow was so soft, and he'd done a good thing, hadn't he? Saved that girl. His mom would have been proud. Lucas closed his eyes, conjuring the image of his mother's smile, remembering the feel of the jacket she'd given him, thinking of the girl who would live because he'd made a simple choice. It felt like enough. The snow continued to fall, relentless and gentle, slowly burying the boy in the alley, transforming the alley into a makeshift grave. Silas Gravestone's road had claimed 12 men in his lifetime. 11 had deserved it. The 12th had been a mistake. Wrong place, wrong time, wrong reaction to a perceived threat. He'd paid his debt for that one. Learned to control the rage that simmered in his chest like a caged beast. But hearing his daughter's voice tremble over the phone, hearing her words stuck in the storm and guys from school were being jerks, sent that cage rattling violently. He'd been in the clubhouse, hunched over the books with his VP, Rook, when Lily Moore's number flashed on his screen. Early, which invariably meant trouble. He'd answered. Then came the boy's voice. Young, scared, but attempting to project an aura of calm. "She's okay. She's with me at the bus stop." That's when Grave knew something was profoundly wrong. His daughter didn't need rescuing. He'd raised her to be self-sufficient, taught her every trick he knew. If she was stranded with some boy at a bus stop instead of at her designated pickup point, someone had screwed up badly. "Mount up," he'd commanded his brothers, barely 30 seconds into the call, no explanations needed. When the president gave an order, you moved. 50 bikes roared to life in perfect synchronization. The Iron Reapers didn't do anything small. Now, 10 minutes later, Graves' Road King spearheaded the formation down Maple Street, a mechanical cavalry charge against the fury of the blizzard. The storm was irrelevant. The snow was irrelevant. His daughter needed him, and God himself couldn't halt this train. They found her huddled in the bus stop shelter, cocooned in an oversized jacket that had clearly seen better days, better years. Even the sight of his baby girl shivering on a plastic bench, clad in her cheerleading uniform in the midst of a blizzard, ignited something primal and violent within Henry Moore's chest. He was off his bike before it had fully stopped, striding toward her with a ground-eating gait that made even hardened men instinctively step aside. "Daddy!" Lily Moore launched herself into his arms, and for a fleeting moment she was 5 years old again, a scraped knee from a bicycle mishap, seeking her father's touch to make it all better. Grave held her tight, feeling the frigid chill radiating from her, even through the layers of fabric. "Who did this?" "It's okay. I'm fine." "Who did this, Lily?" She pulled back slightly, and he saw his own eyes staring back at him, the same flinty determination, the same unyielding family steel that might bend but would never break. Logan Pierce and his friends. They took my phone, threw my keys in the snow, left me in the parking lot. Grave filed the name away. Logan Pierce, age probably 17 or 18. Crime, assault, attempted manslaughter. Sentence to be determined. "Where's the boy? Lucas?" He scanned the deserted street. "He left. Said he lived nearby." Lily Moore's face crumpled. "Dad?" He gave me his jacket. In a blizzard. He was just wearing a t-shirt, and he gave me his jacket. That's when Grave truly scrutinized the coat his daughter was wearing. It wasn't merely worn, it was practically held together by patches and prayers. The zipper was broken, one of the pockets stitched closed with what looked like dental floss. But it was warm, thick with some kind of synthetic fill, and it still radiated the lingering heat of its previous owner. This wasn't some spare jacket, this was someone's only jacket. He said he lived close by. Henry Moore's voice was deceptively soft, now the kind of soft that made his brothers nervous, because it signified the president was deep in thought. That's what he said. But Lily Moore bit her lip, her brow furrowed with worry. "Dad, I don't think he was telling the truth. He's Evan Brooks. He's in my English class. He always sits alone at lunch, always wears the same 3 shirts. I don't think he has a home to go to." Grave examined the jacket again, running his fingers over the worn fabric. Once upon a time it had been down-filled, designed for serious cold, but it was old now, threadbare in places, patched with mismatched fabric, like whoever wore it couldn't afford to replace it, but couldn't afford to lose it either. This boy had surrendered his only protection against the storm, and then walked away into that storm, wearing nothing. "Rook!" Grave called out, his voice carrying the weight of command. His VP materialized at his shoulder instantly. "Get road captain. I want every prospect, every brother who's not working, every hanger around who wants to patch in someday. Tell them we're looking for a kid, 16 or 17, dark hair, skinny, last seen wearing a band t-shirt, walking away from this location 10 minutes ago. On it, press." Rook pulled out his phone, already barking orders. Grave turned back to Lily Moore, removed his own leather jacket, the one with President emblazoned across the back, the one worth more than most people's cars, and draped it over the jacket she already wore. "Get on my bike. You're going home. What about Lucas?" "We're going to find him." Henry Moore's voice was steel swathed in silk. "And then we're going to have a talk with Logan Pierce and anyone else who thought this shit was funny." One of the prospects, a rookie barely 20 years old who'd been striving to patch in for 6 months, jogged up, his face flushed with urgency. "Press, I got the school's security office on the phone. They're still reviewing footage, but they confirmed a kid matching that description left on foot about 15 minutes ago." "Which direction?" "East, toward the industrial district." The industrial district. Abandoned factories, empty warehouses, the desolate haunts where the homeless sometimes sought refuge when winter's grip grew too fierce. Henry Moore's jaw tightened. "Lily, honey. This Lucas, what's he like?" Lily Moore paused, thoughtfully searching for the right words. "Quiet. Really quiet. He sits in the back, never causes trouble. The other kids..." She paused again, looking guilty. "They're mean to him. Call him Sparrow. Make fun of his clothes. Sparrow." Grave filed that away too. "Anyone in particular?" "Logan's crew, mostly. Derek Chun, Caleb Turner. They throw stuff at him in class, trip him in the halls. The teachers never do anything. Henry Moore's hands curled into fists, the leather of his gloves creaking with the force of his grip. His daughter went to school every day, walked past this kid getting bullied, lived her normal life while some boy got tortured for being poor. And then that same boy had saved her life, without hesitation. "Mount up." Henry Moore's voice carried across the formation, silencing the rumble of the engines. "We're heading east. Fan out. Check every alley, every doorway. We're looking for a kid in a t-shirt. When you find him, you call me first. Nobody touches him. Nobody scares him. We bring him in safe. Understood? Understood." The response resonated in a thunderous chorus of 50 voices. Henry Moore settled Lily Moore on the back of his bike, ensuring she was bundled tight against the biting wind. "Hold on, baby girl. We're going to find your hero." The Iron Reapers roared to life, splitting into coordinated search patterns that blanketed every street, every alley, every conceivable route a hypothermic kid might take in a desperate attempt to get home. They found him 7 minutes later. Wrench, one of the newer members, radioed in, his voice tight with concern. "Press, got him. Alley behind the old Morrison plant. He's down. Repeat, he's down." Henry Moore's bike devoured the 3 blocks in a matter of seconds. He parked, his boots hitting the pavement before the engine had even sputtered to a halt. The alley was narrow, shadowed, choked with drifting snow. Evan Brooks was slumped against a dumpster, discarded and forgotten. His dark hair was already dusted white with snow, his lips tinged with an ominous blue. For a heart-stopping moment, Grave feared they were too late. Then the kid's chest moved, a shallow, labored rise and fall, barely perceptible but undeniably there. He was still breathing. "Get him up, carefully." Grave knelt in the slush, heedless of his expensive leather pants or his hard-earned reputation. Up close, he could see how young Lucas truly was. Just a kid, maybe 16, skinny in a way that spoke of missed meals and chronic stress. His hands were ghostly white, his fingers curled into the telltale signs of frostbite. This boy had given everything to save Lily Moore. Literally everything, right down to the coat off his back. Rook and Wrench gently lifted Lucas between them. He didn't stir, didn't even groan. He simply hung there, limp and lifeless, like a broken doll. "Hospital," Grave ordered, his voice brooking no argument. "Now, Rookie, you ride ahead. Tell the ER we're coming in hot with a hypothermia case. Tell them Silas Stone is paying. And if they give you any shit about insurance or paperwork, they can discuss it with my lawyer." "Boss, which hospital?" "Presbyterian. Best trauma center in the city." The formation reformed, this time with Lucas cradled in the sidecar of Chain's bike, swathed in every spare jacket the brothers could muster. Grave led the charge, his own jacket now part of the protective cocoon, keeping the kid alive. As they roared through the city, Grave made a decision. This boy had saved his daughter's life at the cost of his own warmth, his own safety, his own everything. That created a debt, and Silas Gravestone always paid his debts. But first, there were some debts owed to him that needed collecting. Logan Pierce's name seared in Henry Moore's mind like a brand. Lucas woke up to warmth. Not the fleeting, insufficient warmth of a threadbare sleeping bag or the brief respite of the diner's kitchen, but a profound, pervasive warmth that seeped into his very bones, a sensation he'd almost forgotten was possible. He tried to move and discovered he couldn't. Panic flared. Was he paralyzed? Trapped? His eyes fluttered open. Hospital room. Private. Judging by the surroundings. The walls weren't the sterile green of a typical institution, but a soothing cream color. There was actual art on the walls. A window revealed the storm still raging outside, but within this room it was bright and warm and safe. Lucas was buried beneath what felt like a dozen heated blankets, and four lines dripped clear fluid into his left arm. Monitors beeped softly, displaying a stream of vitals he didn't comprehend. "Hey, Sleeping Beauty's awake. Lucas turned his head slowly, his movements sluggish, his thoughts still adrift in a hazy fog, and saw a man sitting in a chair beside his bed, a hulking figure, completely bald, with eyes that could cut glass and tattoos snaking up his neck. He wore a leather vest adorned with patches that Lucas's scrambled brain couldn't quite decipher. "Who?" Lucas's voice emerged as a raspy croak. "Name's Grave. You saved my daughter yesterday." "Yesterday?" "Lily Moore. The parking lot. The jacket." Lucas's hand instinctively flew to his chest, encountering only the thin cotton of a hospital gown. "My jacket. Safe. Lily's got it." Grave leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees, his gaze intense. "Kid, you gave her your only coat in the middle of a blizzard, then you walked away in a t-shirt. What the hell were you thinking?" The way Grave posed the question, not with anger, but with genuine bewilderment, made Lucas's carefully constructed defenses crumble. She was freezing. "I wasn't. Simple math, simple math." Grave shook his head, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. "You damn near died. You know that. Core temp was 89 when they brought you in. Another 10 minutes and we'd have been having a very different conversation." Lucas didn't know how to respond. "Sorry? You're welcome." He settled for, "Is Lily Moore okay?" "She's fine, thanks to you." Grave studied him with those piercing eyes. "Doctor says you're going to keep all your fingers and toes. No permanent damage, but it was close. Real close." "I don't have insurance," Lucas blurted out, the words tumbling out of his mouth almost involuntarily. "I can't afford it." Henry Moore's gaze hardened. "Already paid for. I'll pay you back. I have a job at the diner. I can work out a payment plan." The boy's voice, barely above a whisper, faded into that dangerous softness that sent a shiver down Henry Moore's spine. He cut Lucas off, his voice brooking no argument. "Shut up about money. You saved my daughter's life. As far as I'm concerned, you could burn down this hospital, and I'd still be in your debt." Lucas, a kid hardened by years of fending for himself, had never been good at accepting help. In his experience, help came with strings attached, unspoken expectations that inevitably led to disappointment. The world had taught him that no act of kindness was ever truly selfless. "I should go. My boss will wonder where I am." "Your boss knows you're here." "I called him. Guy named Grant Holloway." "You called Big Grant Holloway?" Lucas's stomach plummeted, a cold fist clenching around his insides. He pictured the hulking figure of his boss and the inevitable dressing down that awaited him. "He's going to fire me." "He's not firing anyone. I had a chat with him, explained the situation. You're on paid medical leave for the rest of the week." "Paid? I don't get paid when I don't work." "You do now." Lucas stared, bewildered at this stranger who had somehow rearranged his life in the space of a single night. "Why are you doing this?" Henry Moore's gaze softened, the steel in his eyes momentarily fading. "Because you gave my baby girl your coat when you only had one coat to give." The words hung in the air, heavy with sincerity and gratitude. Henry Moore's voice carried a weight of absolute certainty, an unwavering conviction that transcended mere words. "That's the kind of thing that matters, kid. That's the kind of thing that means something." A knock at the door punctuated the moment, saving Lucas from having to articulate the storm of emotions swirling within him. A young woman entered, her dark hair pulled back neatly from a kind face. She carried a tablet and wore the crisp white coat of a doctor. "Mr. Reed, good to see you awake. I'm Dr. Aaron Mehta." "How are you feeling?" "Warm," Lucas said honestly, surprised by the genuine warmth that had begun to seep into his bones. Dr. Mehta smiled, a flash of warmth in her dark eyes. "That's the goal. Your core temperature is back to normal, but I want to keep you overnight for observation. Hypothermia can have delayed effects. We'll monitor your kidney function, make sure everything's working properly. I really can't afford it." "Already handled," Dr. Mehta said, her tone gentle but firm. Mr. Stone has taken care of all expenses. Your only job is to rest and recover." As the doctor bustled out, leaving a trail of sterile scent in her wake, Lucas turned back to Henry Moore, his mind reeling. "I don't understand. You don't know me. I know enough." Henry Moore pulled out his phone, the screen illuminating his face with a soft glow. He showed Lucas the picture, Lily Moore, wrapped in Lucas's ratty jacket like a precious trophy, giving the camera a tearful, grateful smile. The caption read, "This jacket saved my life. The boy who gave it to me is a hero." "She's been telling everyone who will listen about what you did," Henry Moore said, a hint of pride coloring his voice. "Posted that on her Instagram. It's got 15,000 likes already." Lucas felt a wave of nausea wash over him. The thought of his threadbare life being broadcast to the world on social media was mortifying. "She posted my jacket on social media?" "No, kid. She posted your character. There's a difference." Henry Moore pocketed his phone, his gaze hardening once more. "While you were sleeping, I did some digging, talked to some people. Lucas Reed, age 16, mother deceased, father unknown. Living with a stepfather until 3 months ago when said stepfather kicked you out. Currently unhoused, working under the table at Big Grant Holloway's. Still going to school?" He paused, his eyes narrowing. "Why are you still going to school?" "Free lunch," Lucas said quietly, the words barely audible. "And it's warm." Henry Moore's jaw tightened, the muscles in his face clenching. "Yeah, that's what I figured." He stood up abruptly, his large frame radiating restless energy as he began to pace the small room. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to stay here tonight. Get healthy. Tomorrow you're coming home with me." "What?" "No, I can't. Not asking, kid. I got a big house. Got about 8 empty bedrooms. You're taking one, non-negotiable. I'm not a charity case." "Damn right you're not." Henry Moore stopped pacing, his eyes locking onto Lucas with unwavering intensity. "You're the guy who saved my daughter's life. That makes you family, and family doesn't sleep in abandoned buildings during a blizzard. You don't know anything about me. I could be dangerous. I could." "Could you?" Henry Moore's eyes were sharp, piercing, unwavering. "Are you dangerous, Lucas? You going to hurt Lily Moore? Going to steal from me? Going to bring trouble to my door?" "No. But then we're good. Look, kid, I know you've been hurt. I know you don't trust easy. But here's the truth. You made a choice yesterday. You chose to help someone even when it cost you everything you had. That choice means something to me, means something to my family. I don't want to owe anyone," Lucas said desperately, his voice cracking with emotion. "You don't owe me a damn thing. I owe you. Big difference." Henry Moore sat back down, his large frame seeming to soften slightly. When he spoke again, his voice was gentler, laced with a quiet understanding. "Let me tell you about the Iron Reapers. We're a motorcycle club. We ride together, fight together, protect our own. We got rules, got structure, got a code. And the most important part of that code is this: we take care of our brothers. I'm not your brother. Not yet, but you could be." Henry Moore met his eyes, holding his gaze with unwavering sincerity. "I'm offering you a prospect position. You finish school, keep your nose clean, learn the life. When you turn 18, if you still want in, we'll talk about patching you in proper." Lucas's head was spinning. 24 hours ago, he'd been sleeping in an abandoned building, wondering if he'd make rent on the storage unit where he kept his mom's things. Now he was in a hospital bed being offered what? A home? A family? A future? "I need to think about it," he managed to stammer out, the words feeling inadequate to express the turmoil within him. "Fair enough. You think, but while you're thinking, you're staying in one of my spare rooms. Because the alternative is, you go back to that auto shop, and I'm not watching Lily Moore's hero freeze to death because he's too proud to accept help." "How did you know about the shop?" Henry Moore's smile was grim, a flash of steel beneath the veneer of kindness. "I know everything about this city, kid. Part of the job." Another knock. lighter and more hesitant than the previous ones. This time it was Lily Moore, her face flushed, carrying a tray laden with coffee and what smelled like actual home-cooked food. She stopped in the doorway, her eyes widening when she saw Lucas was awake. "Hi," she said shyly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Hi," Lucas managed, his throat suddenly dry. He tried to sit up, but a wave of dizziness washed over him, and he sank back against the pillows, defeated. "I'm glad you're okay. I'm glad you're alive." Lily Moore set the tray down on the bedside table, her movements careful and deliberate. She pulled up another chair, positioning it close to the bed. She was wearing normal clothes now, jeans and a cozy-looking sweater, but she'd kept Lucas's jacket on over everything. It looked ridiculous on her, the sleeves hanging down to her knees, the worn fabric swallowing her small frame, but she wore it like a badge of honor, a symbol of gratitude and newfound connection. "I was going to give that back to you," she said, her fingers tracing the rough fabric of the jacket, "but Dad said I should keep it until you're better. Said it's bad luck to return a life-saving jacket before the person who gave it to you is fully recovered." Lucas looked at Henry Moore, a question in his eyes. The big man simply shrugged, a hint of amusement playing on his lips. "Made that up, but it sounded good, right?" Despite everything, the fear, the confusion, the overwhelming strangeness of waking up to find his life completely rearranged, Lucas laughed. The sound was weak and raspy, and it hurt his chest, making the monitors beep faster, but it felt good. Real good. When was the last time he'd laughed? He couldn't remember. "Keep it," he told Lily Moore, his voice still rough around the edges. "Looks better on you anyway." "Liar," she said, a smile playing on her lips, her eyes sparkling with gratitude. "It's got patches made from 3 different flannel shirts, and one of the pockets is sewn shut with what I think is fishing line. Dental floss, actually," Lucas corrected, a ghost of a smile touching his own lips. They sat there, the 3 of them, a makeshift family forged in the crucible of a blizzard, while the storm raged outside and the hospital hummed its quiet rhythm of healing. Henry Moore, the imposing biker with a heart of gold, Lily Moore, the privileged girl with an unexpected depth of compassion, and Lucas Reed, the abandoned kid who had unknowingly stumbled into a world he never knew existed. Eventually, Henry Moore told Lily Moore to give Lucas some space, sensing the boy's need for quiet contemplation. But she insisted on staying, claiming she had homework to do anyway. Lucas watched her pull out her English textbook, the same textbook they shared in class, and thought about how utterly weird life was. Yesterday he'd been invisible, a ghost drifting through the crowded hallways of the school. Today he was what? A hero? A prospect? A kid in a hospital bed who'd somehow stumbled into a family that rode motorcycles and scared doctors into not asking about insurance. "Hey, Lucas." Lily Moore looked up from her homework, her brow furrowed in concentration. "Yeah? That English paper we're supposed to write about sacrifice and redemption in The Great Gatsby. What about it?" She smiled at him, a genuine, heartfelt smile that radiated warmth and gratitude. It was the kind of smile that made the warmth in the room feel like more than just heated blankets. It felt like hope. "I think I finally understand it. Thank you for everything." Lucas didn't know what to say to that, so he just nodded, pulled the blankets tighter around him, and for the first time in 3 months, let himself feel safe. Maybe, just maybe, things were finally starting to look up. Meanwhile, miles away, Logan Pierce was having the best Monday of his life. The story of the blizzard had spread like wildfire over the weekend, twisted and distorted by Logan's own carefully crafted narrative. The story of how he'd accidentally left Lily Moore stranded in the blizzard, how she'd dramatically overreacted to a harmless prank, how the coat thing was probably made up for sympathy. By Monday morning, half the school thought Logan was hilarious, a mischievous prankster who had inadvertently sparked a school-wide spectacle. The other half was too scared to disagree, intimidated by Logan's wealth and influence. He was holding court in the cafeteria, his usual crew of sycophants arranged around him like courtiers, basking in his reflected glory when he saw Evan Brooks walk in. The Sparrow, as Logan had cruelly nicknamed him, looked like death warmed over pale, shaky, moving with a fragile, almost painful gait. He was probably there because he needed the free lunch, Logan sneered inwardly, the thought solidifying his sense of superiority. Pathetic. "Hey, Sparrow!" Logan called out, his voice dripping with mockery. The cafeteria went quiet, all eyes turning towards the unfolding drama. "Where's your coat, man? Finally sell it for drug money?" Lucas didn't respond. He just kept his head down, his shoulders hunched, and got in the lunch line, trying to disappear into the anonymous crowd. "I'm talking to you, homeless." Logan stood up, his crew instinctively following suit, their movements echoing his own aggression. "You steal Lily Moore's jacket? That what happened? Creep like you probably sniffed it all weekend." A few people laughed, nervously, uncertainly. Not many. There was a weird tension in the air, a sense that things were about to escalate beyond the usual schoolyard taunting. But it was enough to feed Logan's ego, to fuel his need for control and validation. "Leave him alone, Logan." A voice cut through the tense silence. Nora Bennett Martinez, Lily Moore's best friend, stood up from her table, her eyes blazing with anger. "You don't know what you're talking about." "Oh yeah? Enlighten me, Nora Bennett. Tell me how Sparrow here is actually a hero instead of a coat-stealing creep." "He gave Lily Moore his jacket," Nora Bennett said quietly, her voice shaking with barely suppressed fury. "In the middle of the blizzard, after you left her to freeze to death. He saved her life, Logan, and you're making fun of him for it." The cafeteria was dead silent now, the air thick with unspoken accusations and simmering resentment. Logan felt something cold settle in his stomach, a knot of unease that tightened with each word Nora Bennett spoke. "That's bullshit. Lily Moore was fine. Her dad picked her up after she nearly died of hypothermia. After Lucas gave her his only coat and nearly died himself." Nora Bennett's voice was shaking with anger, her eyes flashing with righteous indignation. "He's a hero, Logan, and you're—" Whatever Nora Bennett was going to say was drowned out by a sound that made the entire cafeteria freeze. Motorcycles. Not one or two, but a whole cacophony of them, a rumbling, roaring symphony of raw power that vibrated through the very foundations of the building. It sounded like an army, a thunderous horde descending upon the school. Logan moved to the window, his bravado momentarily forgotten. So did everyone else, drawn by the primal allure of the approaching engines. The school's front lot was filling up with motorcycles, huge gleaming Harleys ridden by men who looked like they ate nails for breakfast and washed them down with gasoline. Leather vests, bandanas, enough tattoos to qualify as full body armor. They were the stuff of legend, the embodiment of rebellious, cool and unadulterated menace. They parked in perfect formation, kickstands down in unison with the precision of a military drill. 50 bikes, 50 riders, a force to be reckoned with. At the front, a completely bald man astride a massive road king surveyed the scene with a gaze that could melt steel. He swung off his bike with a casual confidence that made Logan's knees weak and started walking toward the school's front entrance, his boots echoing on the asphalt like the approach of doom. "Who the hell is that?" Derek, one of Logan's more perceptive cronies, whispered, his voice laced with genuine fear. "I don't know, but we should probably—" Logan trailed off, his words failing him in the face of the unfolding spectacle. The front doors of the school swung open with a dramatic flourish, revealing the bald man silhouetted against the midday sun. He walked in like he owned the place, his presence radiating an aura of authority that brooked no argument. 30% of his crew followed close behind, their faces grim, their eyes scanning the hallway with predatory intensity. The hall monitor, Mr. Peterson, a former Marine who didn't take shit from anyone, stepped forward, his chest puffed out, ready to assert his authority. "Sir, you can't." The bald man looked at him, his gaze unwavering, and something in his eyes made Mr. Peterson hesitate. Just looked. Mr. Peterson, a man who had faced down enemy fire and stared death in the face, stepped aside, his resolve inexplicably crumbling. Principal Harold Bennett came running out of his office, his face red with indignation, already in full bureaucratic outrage mode. "Excuse me, you can't just. There are procedures, regulations. I'm Henry Moore Stone." The bald man's voice carried through the hallway like a pronouncement, silencing Principal Bennett in mid-sentence. "I'm here for two things. First, I want to talk to the principal about updating your cold weather emergency protocols, since apparently you let students get stranded in blizzards." Principal Bennett paled, his carefully constructed facade of authority crumbling before the biker's unwavering gaze. "I assure you, Mr. Stone, we have very comprehensive." "Second," Henry Moore continued, his voice brooking no interruption, "I'm looking for the owner of this." He reached into his jacket and pulled out something that made Logan's blood run cold. Lucas Reed's jacket, the ratty, patched, obviously well-loved jacket, held aloft like a sacred relic. It was a symbol of everything Logan despised: poverty, vulnerability, selflessness, and it was about to become his undoing. The cafeteria doors opened, and every student in the school crowded into the hallway, drawn by the unfolding drama. "This jacket," Henry Moore said, his voice carrying to every corner of the school, "saved my daughter's life on Friday. Some piece of shit left her in a parking lot during a blizzard. This jacket and the boy who gave it to her kept her alive until I could get there." Logan's blood ran even colder, a glacial dread seeping into his bones. Lily Moore's father, this biker gang leader, was Lily Moore's father. "So I'm asking one more time," Henry Moore said softly, dangerously, his eyes scanning the crowd. "Whose jacket is this?" Silence. Nobody moved. Fear and morbid curiosity held the entire school in its thrall. Then, from the cafeteria doorway, a small, hesitant voice broke the spell. "It's mine." Evan Brooks stepped forward, his face pale, his body trembling, looking like he might pass out at any moment. His friends, did Sparrow even have friends, tried to stop him, pulling at his arm, whispering frantic pleas, but he kept walking, his gaze fixed on Henry Moore. Henry Moore turned, and something miraculous happened. The dangerous hardness in his expression melted away, replaced by something gentle, almost paternal. Lucas Reed. He crossed the distance in 3 long strides, his presence filling the hallway. "Yes, sir." Lucas looked tiny next to Henry Moore, pale and shaking, but standing his ground, refusing to cower in the face of overwhelming power. "My daughter told me what you did." Henry Moore's voice was quiet now, meant for Lucas alone, but carrying with an unexpected resonance. "She told me you gave her this jacket, walked away with nothing, nearly died, keeping her warm." "She was cold," Lucas said simply, his voice devoid of self-pity or bravado. "I had a jacket. Math was easy." Henry Moore smiled, a fleeting expression that was both terrifying and beautiful at the same time. It was the smile of a man who understood sacrifice, who valued loyalty above all else. "Yeah, that's what she said you'd say." Then he did something that made the entire school gasp, something that shattered the carefully constructed social hierarchy of privilege and power. Henry Moore took off his own jacket, the leather vest emblazoned with the Iron Reaper's insignia, the one marked with patches that meant something in a world most of these kids couldn't even comprehend. It was a symbol of his identity, his loyalty, his very being, and he draped it over Lucas Reed's shoulders with the reverence of a knight bestowing a sacred honor. "This is my jacket," Henry Moore said, his voice booming loud enough for everyone to hear. "Worth about $3,000. Custom leather, hand-tooled patches. I've worn it for 15 years. He adjusted it on Lucas's frame, his touch surprisingly gentle. It was huge on the kid, the leather swallowing his small frame, but somehow, impossibly, it looked right. Anyone who fucks with this boy," Henry Moore continued, his voice dropping to a low, deadly growl, "fucks with me. Anyone who touches him answers to the Iron Reapers. Anyone who even looks at him wrong will learn what it means to have an MC on their ass." He turned, addressing the whole school, his eyes sweeping across the sea of faces, a silent warning that brooked no disobedience. "Evan Brooks saved my daughter's life. That makes him family, and we protect our family." Henry Moore's eyes swept the crowd again, lingering on each face, assessing, intimidating, promising retribution. Finally, his gaze landed on Logan Pierce, and held there, unwavering, unblinking. Logan felt his bladder threaten to give out, his carefully constructed facade of confidence crumbling into dust. "You're Logan Pierce, right?" Logan couldn't speak, couldn't even manage a coherent thought. He could only nod, his throat constricted with terror. "You left my daughter in a parking lot, took her phone, threw her keys in the snow, drove away while she was wearing a cheerleader uniform in a blizzard." Henry Moore's voice was conversational, almost casual, which made it even more terrifying. "That's attempted manslaughter in my book. Maybe even attempted murder. I didn't know. I didn't mean to. You didn't think. Big difference." Henry Moore walked toward Logan slowly, deliberately, his every step a hammer blow against Logan's fragile ego. The crowd parted before him like he was Moses and they were the Red Sea, leaving Logan exposed and vulnerable. "See, I got a problem. My daughter doesn't want me handling this. Says she wants to let the school deal with it, but I'm not really a let the school deal with it kind of guy. I'm more of a make sure this never happens again type." Logan backed up until he hit the wall, his eyes wide with panic, his body trembling uncontrollably. "Please, I'm sorry. I'll shut up. I'll do anything." Henry Moore didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. His presence alone was enough to instill abject terror. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to apologize to Lily Moore. A real apology in front of the whole school. Then you're going to write her a check for whatever her medical bills were. Then you're going to do 100 hours of community service at the homeless shelter. Your dad's a lawyer, I know. Marcus Pierce, family law, big office downtown. I already talked to him. He agrees this is fair, considering the alternative is me pressing charges and making sure this sticks to your record forever." Henry Moore leaned in close, his face inches from Logan's, his voice a low, menacing whisper. "Your dad's scared of me, kid. You should be too." Logan nodded frantically, tears streaming down his face, his entire world collapsing around him. "Good." Henry Moore straightened, his gaze sweeping over the terrified student body. "Oh, and one more thing. That BMW you drive? The one you used to strand my daughter? What about it?" Logan stammered, a flicker of hope igniting within him. Henry Moore pulled out his phone again, his smile pure evil. He showed Logan a photo. It was Logan's car, or what used to be Logan's car. Now it was a cube of compressed metal at a junkyard, impounded for illegal parking, then crushed for unpaid tickets. Nice, huh? Funny how 20 parking tickets from the last year materialized in the system all at once. Stranger still, the impound lot accepted only cold, hard cash, no credit cards allowed, and the fees magically inflated to match the exact value of Logan Pierce's beloved BMW. "Bureaucracy is a real, isn't it?" Grave mused. Logan stared at the photo on Grave's phone. His car, that gleaming symbol of status, now vanished. "You can't do this, it's not legal." "Neither was leaving a girl to freeze to death," Grave countered, his voice like chipped flint. "But here we are." He pocketed the phone, his gaze intense. "Learn something from this, Pierce. Learn that actions have consequences. Learn that this world is full of people who will make you pay for being a piece of." Grave turned back to Lucas, who stood paralyzed, swallowed by the oversized leather vest. "You ready to go, kid?" "Lily Moore's waiting outside. Made me promise to bring you home safe." Lucas scanned the cafeteria, his gaze lingering on the students who had long ignored him. The teachers who had turned a blind eye to the relentless bullying, the school that had never offered him protection. Then his eyes settled on Grave, the brothers standing like silent sentinels behind him, and the jacket draped across his shoulders, a tangible symbol of family, protection and belonging. "Yeah," Lucas said, his voice barely a whisper, yet firm. "I'm ready." They walked out together, the Iron Reapers forming an impromptu honor guard around Lucas. The entire school watched through the windows as Lucas climbed onto the back of Henry Moore's bike, still wearing that ill-fitting president's jacket, and roared away, a thundering escort of 50 motorcycles echoing his newfound freedom. Logan Pierce slid down the wall, his empire of bullying and popularity collapsing around him like shattered glass. Inside the cafeteria, Nora Bennett Martinez began a slow clap, a lone act of defiance that quickly spread through the crowd until the entire school was applauding. Not for Logan, but for the invisible boy who had become a hero, for Evan Brooks, who had given everything and gained a family in return, for the kid who would never be invisible again. 3 months later, Evan Brooks stood before a mirror, hardly recognizing the reflection staring back at him. The gaunt, haunted look had vanished. He had gained 20 pounds of healthy weight, a testament to regular meals and consistent care. His hair was neatly cut, a far cry from the haphazard trims in gas station bathrooms. He wore clothes that fit, jeans and a broken-in leather jacket Rook had gifted him, worn enough to be comfortable, yet maintained with a sense of respect. But the most significant change was in his eyes. They had lost that constant vigilance, that perpetual expectation of the next blow. He looked like a kid again, a kid who might actually have a future. "You clean up nice, Sparrow," Lily Moore said, appearing in the doorway of his room, his actual room, in Henry Moore's actual house, complete with an actual bed and everything. She still used the nickname, but now it was laced with affection, a term of endearment rather than an insult. "Still feels weird," Lucas admitted, tugging self-consciously at the jacket. "Like I'm playing dress-up." "You're not. You're one of us now." Lily sauntered into the room and flopped onto his bed as if she owned the place, which, in a way, she did now. She treated him like the brother she never had, a gesture that still made Lucas's chest swell with a feeling he could only describe as happiness. "Dad says you're officially prospecting for the club next month when you turn 17. If I want," Lucas clarified, sitting beside her. "I haven't decided yet." "What's to decide? You've been living here, learning the life, helping with club business." Lily playfully poked his shoulder. "You're already a Reaper in everything but the patch." Lucas thought back to the last 3 months. Living with Grave, which felt less like residing with an MC president and more like being shadowed by the world's most overprotective uncle. Meeting the brothers, hearing their stories, understanding that beneath the leather and the ink were men who had chosen family over blood, loyalty over law. He had been terrified at first, constantly waiting for the catch. The moment when Grave would reveal his true motives in exchange for the room, the food and the safety. But the catch never came. Instead, he got homework help from Wrench, who held a degree in engineering he never spoke of. He received driving lessons from Rook, surprisingly patient for a man named after a weapon. He learned cooking tips from Charger, the club's road captain, who had worked as a chef before joining the Reapers. He gained Lily Moore, who had appointed herself his sister, taking the role seriously by dragging him to movies, introducing him to her friends, and treating him like he mattered. He got Grave, who showed up to Lucas's parent-teacher conferences, helped with college applications, and sat with him on bad nights when the memories of his mother became unbearable. He got a family, Earth to Lucas. Lily waved a hand in front of his face. "You okay?" "Yeah, just thinking." Lucas smiled, about how 3 months ago I was sleeping in an auto shop and now I'm going to my first MC party. "Oh, it's not a party. It's a family barbecue." Lily stood up, pulling him to his feet. "Big difference. At a party, people get drunk and stupid. At a family barbecue, people get drunk and tell embarrassing stories about each other while burgers burn on the grill. They headed downstairs, where the backyard was already teeming with reapers and their families. Children ran around screaming, old ladies sat in lawn chairs gossiping, and someone had set up a volleyball net that was being used more as a climbing structure than a sporting apparatus. This was what Lucas had never understood about motorcycle clubs. They weren't just gangs, they were communities. Families built from choice instead of blood, held together by loyalty and a shared code. Grave waved him over to the grill, where he and Rook were managing what looked like 100 burgers. "Come here, I want you to meet someone." Lucas walked over, Lily trailing behind. "This is my dad, Marcus." Grave nodded towards an old man in a wheelchair, his face weathered as old leather, but his eyes still sharp and intelligent. "Pop, this is Lucas, the kid I told you about." Marcus looked Lucas up and down, with the assessing gaze of someone who had seen everything. "The coat kid. Heard a lot about you, boy." "Sir," Lucas replied, unsure what else to say. "My son says you gave away your only jacket to save a stranger." "That true?" "She wasn't really a stranger. We had English class together." Marcus chuckled, a sound like gravel shifting. "Kid, Lily tells me you'd never spoken before that day. You didn't even know her last name. She was a stranger." He leaned forward in his chair, his gaze intense. "You know what that makes you?" Lucas shook his head. "Either really stupid or really brave. Maybe both." Marcus grinned, revealing a flash of surprisingly white teeth. "Either way, you're going to fit right in here. The Iron Reaper's got a long history of doing stupid brave." Over the next hour, Lucas met what felt like 100 people, all of them treating him like he belonged. The old ladies, the term for the wives and girlfriends, which still made Lucas uncomfortable because some of them were barely 30, fussed over how thin he was and piled food onto his plate. Prospects, guys like him trying to earn their patches, asked him for advice on dealing with Henry Moore's impossible standards. Even the patched members, the Full Brothers, treated him with a respect that Lucas wasn't sure he had earned. Or had he? "You thinking too hard again?" Lily observed, appearing with 2 sodas. "I can see the smoke coming out of your ears. Just wondering why everyone's so nice to me. I'm nobody, Lily." Lily sat him down at a picnic table away from the crowd. "You saved my life. But more than that, you showed my dad something he needed to see." "What's that?" "That there's still good people in the world. People who do the right thing even when it costs them everything." She took his hand and squeezed it. "Dad told me about your mom, about your stepdad, about how you'd been living in that shop for months and nobody at school knew. Nobody cared." Lucas looked away, his throat tightening. "It's fine. I was fine." "You were dying, Lucas. Maybe not fast, but dying. And you still gave away the one thing keeping you alive to help a girl you didn't even know." Lily's voice trembled. "That's not fine, that's heroic. And Dad spent his whole life around guys who talk big about loyalty and brotherhood. But when push comes to shove, most people look out for themselves first. That's just survival. No, that's being normal. What you did wasn't normal. It was extraordinary, and Dad recognized that." Lily wiped her eyes and laughed self-consciously. "Sorry, I'm being emotional. But you need to understand, you're not here because Dad feels sorry for you. You're here because you earned it. You proved you're the kind of man the Iron Reapers need." Lucas considered that. About the coat, about the choice, about how easy it would have been to walk past Lily Moore that day, to tell himself it wasn't his problem, that he had his own survival to worry about. "Hey, Sparrow," Charger called from the grill. "You any good at volleyball?" "Never played." "Perfect. You're on my team. We're getting Des Logan by the prospects, and I need someone who's not afraid to get hit in the face." Lucas found himself pulled into a chaotic volleyball game where the rules seemed optional and the trash talk was mandatory. He was terrible, missed every serve, got spiked in the head twice. But people laughed with him, not at him, and clapped him on the back when he made a lucky point. They treated him like he belonged. Later, as the sun set and someone started a bonfire, Grave found Lucas sitting alone watching the flames. "You doing okay, kid?" Lucas nodded. "Yeah, just processing, I guess." Grave sat beside him and handed him a soda. "I know it's a lot." Going from alone to this, he gestured at the 50 people laughing, drinking, and being family. "It's an adjustment. I keep waiting for the catch," Lucas admitted. "For the moment when you tell me what you really want. I want you to finish school, get into college if that's your path, learn a trade if it's not." Grave took a long drink. "I want you to be safe, fed, warm. I want you to have the childhood you should have had instead of the one you got. Why? Because you saved my daughter's life, because you're a good kid who got dealt a hand, because I can." Grave looked at Lucas directly, his gaze unwavering. "You keep asking why, like there's got to be an angle. Sometimes there's not. Sometimes people just do good because it's right. Like me giving Lily the jacket. Exactly like that." Grave smiled, a rare and genuine expression. "You see what I did there? You proved my point." Lucas laughed despite himself. "You're a manipulative old man. I'm a strategic thinker. Big difference." Grave stood up and offered Lucas his hand. "Come on, they're about to bring out the cake." "Cake? What are we celebrating, you kid? 3 months since you joined the family. Figured that was worth celebrating." The cake was huge, chocolate with vanilla frosting, and said, "Welcome home, Sparrow in blue icing." Lucas stared at it, at these people who barely knew him throwing him a party, and felt something crack open in his chest. He had spent so long being nobody, being invisible, being alone, and now he had this loud, chaotic, loving family who had claimed him as their own. When they sang off key and enthusiastic, Lucas cried. Lily hugged him. Grave clapped him on the shoulder. The brothers cheered. And for the first time since his mother died, Evan Brooks felt like he was home. Lucas adjusted his leather vest, his own vest now, earned through 3 years of prospecting, of proving himself, of becoming a man instead of a scared kid, and looked at himself in the mirror. Iron reapers emblazoned across the back, Sparrow stitched on the front, hard-earned patches marking his journey, the coat patch Lily had designed, depicting a jacket with wings, the California bottom rocker, and the brother patch, signifying he was fully patched in, a full member of the club. He was 19 now, in his second year at community college, studying engineering. He still lived at the Moore's house, but paid rent now, insisted on it. He still had dinner with Lily every Sunday. He still worked part-time at the shop the club owned, learning mechanics from Charger. His mother's jacket, the one that started everything, hung in a frame in Henry Moore's office, a constant reminder of the moment everything changed. "You ready?" Lily appeared in the doorway, wearing a dress that would give Grave a heart attack. She was 17 now, planning to study law, already scaring the club's actual lawyer with her arguments. Ready for what? Logan Pierce's sentencing. Remember? You said you'd come with me to court. Lucas had almost forgotten. Logan, who had gotten arrested 6 months ago for drunk driving, violated probation, and finally pushed his luck too far, was facing actual jail time. "You sure you want to go?" "Yeah, I want him to see us." Lily linked her arm through his. "I want him to see that we're fine, better than fine, that his didn't break us." They rode to the courthouse on Lucas's bike, his first bike, a used Sportster that Grave had helped him rebuild. The courthouse was downtown, all marble and justice. Logan was there with his lawyer dad, looking smaller than Lucas remembered. 3 years of consequences had worn him down. The community service, the ruined reputation, the DUI arrest. He looked up when Lucas and Lily walked in, and something like recognition flickered across his face. The sentencing was quick. The judge was not impressed with Logan's excuses or his father's expensive words. 6 months in county jail, 2 years probation after. As they filed out, Logan caught up to them in the hallway. "Lily, Lucas," he said, looking nervous and defeated. I wanted to say I'm sorry for all of it, the parking lot, the bullying, everything." Lucas looked at the boy who had made his life hell, who had almost killed Lily, who had learned too late that actions had consequences. "Apology noted," Lucas said simply. He didn't say accepted because he wasn't sure he had gotten there yet, but he had gotten to noted, which was progress. "You were right," Logan said quietly, looking at Lucas. "That day when you gave her your coat, you said it was simple math. She needed it more." He laughed bitterly. "I spent 3 years doing math, calculating what you gave up, what I threw away. Math's not simple at all." "No," Lucas agreed. But the choice was. They left Logan there in the courthouse hallway, left him to his 6 months and his regrets, and walked out into the sunshine together, Lily's arm still linked through his. "You okay?" Lily asked. "Yeah, I'm good." And he was. The anger he had carried for so long had faded into something gentler. Not forgiveness exactly, but release. Logan Pierce didn't matter anymore. His opinion, his cruelty, his existence, none of it mattered. What mattered was the family waiting at home, the brothers who had become his brothers, the father figure who had taught him what protection looked like, the sister who had claimed him and never let go. What mattered was the coat he had given away, an act of simple kindness that had changed everything. "Ice cream," Lily suggested. "I'm buying." "You're always buying because I'm rich, and you're a broke college student. Economics, Sparrow, simple math." Lucas laughed, started his bike, and followed Lily toward the ice cream shop, toward home, toward the future he had earned, one choice at a time. Behind him, the courthouse held Logan Pierce and his consequences. Ahead of him, the Iron Reapers, his family, waited. The choice of which direction to ride was the simplest math of all. And as this story comes to a close, we're reminded that sometimes the smallest choices carry the greatest weight. One act of kindness, given without expectation, can change an entire life, and sometimes many more. Thank you for staying with this story until the very end. If it moved you, please consider subscribing to Heart Tales for more stories about courage, compassion, and unexpected heroes. We'd love to hear from you. What moment stayed with you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to check out the next videos waiting for you on the end screen.